8973. The Nightwing and
Yes, that's me. I'm not gonna announce myself. They got me. They understand.
So why do you look bigger inside of the video?
What do you mean?
You don't look at yourself in the video like?
Are you saying I look super ripped? Because I don't feel like I do. I wish.
So with our amazing chemistry, biochemistry, wink.
What does that mean? Man, stop it.
So now we have today I was just scrolling through Instagram because a lot of girls were talking to me, and Clutch's Instagram page announced Piglet was the in fact the true starting carry, and that there was mixed opinions about this guy. So we should probably give context as the reason why people might feel this way.
I think it's more so the entirety of the Clutch roster is 100% confirmed now.
Yeah.
So that leaves one of the few fully confirmed teams in the NALCS now.
Okay, so the last time people saw Piglet, he was playing mid to help TL not get relegated in 2017
last time they saw him
spring.
Was when he got brought up for 2 games, remember? With Vulcan. Back in
the time he was actually
a starter.
Yeah, it was odd. I mean, that's weird. Okay, so the very last time technically was the LCS games with Clutch where they subbed out. They did a whole Cloud9 benching. 2018 was the year of the bench. SKT, Clutch, Cloud9, Fnatic. The year of the bench. What a year we live in.
So with the release of the entire team, most of the people are saying this is too volatile of a team, and there's just
Piglet's not going to work out. It didn't work out on Team Liquid after all those years.
I'm actually going to have to agree with a lot of these people. I do think there's a lot of talent on this team, but you put a lot of people who in fact have shown that they really can't function in terms of if they get behind. Like they're really tilters. Like
did you see how Demonte reacted after Bjergsen played him in their Echo Fox series the first time around?
I just every single one of them. Every single one of them is a big tilter, man. Except for I don't know about Vulcan. And let's go off top of the fact that I don't know if any of them are shot callers. Who's the shot caller this
I wasn't after maybe 2016, after maybe 2016 spring. I wasn't too fascinated with Piglet's play. I thought he was just at that point just below average, honestly.
Yeah, let's be honest. Who is the shot caller of this team? There's 2 rookies, which are Demonte and
Technically,
Vulcan.
Demonte
is pretty new, so I would say neither one of them are probably the shot callers. Piglet himself has stated many times, I'm not a leader. I don't want to lead any team, so he's probably most likely not going to.
We don't know what his champion pool is going to look like because he has struggled on certain specific types of ADCs before.
And that leaves Lyra and Huni.
Lyra doesn't talk.
Lyra, I mean, Huni
you can tell by their comms. Lyra doesn't say word.
We don't see enough of their comms, to be honest. So I think that I would like to say that it's in the contention are pretty much only Huni and Lyra, and I think that it's probably going to be Huni if I have to put my honest opinion on it.
Fun fact: Clutch Gaming has 2 former SKT players.
Yes.
One a world champion and one a world finalist. This is just a place for SKT's washed up players.
Hey man, I mean, he was washed up before he came to SKT.
I forgot, guys. We forgot to mention on the video. Wolf went to TCL and Supermassive.
He did. I don't know if that's going to make any impact on the region. I feel like he's an. I don't even know if he's an upgrade over Snowflower, to be honest.
He literally hadn't played competitive since his jungle days.
Well, the thing about I don't know if he's even an upgrade over Snowflower, to be honest.
At this point, probably not.
I'd have to see him in action. I haven't seen him playing forever. I think Snowflower was playing insanely well at the TCL, so it's kind of hard to say that he'd be an upgrade.
But okay, let's see. Let's run down from what we've seen in Vulcan, the academy scene, and
he looked great.
Yeah,
he looked great in the academy scene, but he looked terrible. The 2 games he came into the LCS, he looked completely.
Well, he was kind of thrown. Into the deep end.
I just feel like this is a great pick. I feel like this is a great player. Honestly, I feel like this is one of the newest. Probably the one of the few rookies that I am confident.
If he's another Zayzel, I mean that's fine.
I think that in my opinion, he probably has more potential than Zayzel does.
I mean,
if we look at what happened in the Academy League, he looked like this bot lane. It was the single most dominant in the entire Academy seat. Like it without a doubt, no one was able to compete with him,
except for maybe the Cloud9 bot lane
of Sneaky.
Oh, but didn't they switch it back?
Yeah, when it went to
Keith and
I don't
Fang.
agree with the Keith and Fang one. Fang, I think it's Fang.
Oh yeah, it is Fang.
It's Fang. It's the dude who was the top laner for what's it called for
and then he switched to a support.
Yeah, it would made no sense, but yes. So I think the biggest problem is I think that this bot lane, in terms of what we've seen from the academy season, I feel like they're gonna surprise a lot of people who kind of put a lot of doubt onto a Piglet.
But why would people put doubt on Piglet?
Because people expected extremely large amounts of success when they brought him over. And I want to be honest. Let's go over the few things. First of all, he had when he had a good team, he had a bad support. When he had a bad team, he had a bad support.
Still made number one.
Yeah, he was the best. He was the best ADC by the end of his first split when he came into the playoffs. Remember, he actually, in my opinion, that he was carrying his team during the first split against the Cloud9 series. He was in my opinion, the single best ADC in NA by that point in time. And then the next split, he was by far the best ADC. But
Doublelift was still pretty good at that point too.
He was good. I don't think it's competitive though. I think that still in the context of what was happening in the games, he had a worst. I think that Piglet still by far looked like the best ADC in NA. I think
CLG at that point were more cohesive than TL. Yeah. So I mean that could be a thing too.
This was also when
Phoenix was kind of a one trick at that point. I Will Dominate only really played like Rek'Sai. Quas only played like Maokai and Hecarim.
Nah, I Will Dominate played pretty much everything. I think I Will Dominate was really great. I think M's really if you want my honest opinion, one of the biggest disappointments in League is the fact that I Will Dominate left the competitive scene. Because I was never completely unimpressed with his play. He was an impressive. I think
X-Special and Piglet were a pretty good bot lane, all things considered.
Good, and I think that X-Special was still struggling throughout the this was past his prime. Mm-hmm. I think this was the non-impressive version of X-Special immediately right when Piglet came into the scene.
And then now you get to this point,
and then we get to the next.
You had Matt. Yeah. They're at a. I mean, they were okay.
Matt was,
and then at a certain point,
Matt was a bad player beyond Bard. I think Matt has never impressed me as a player. Matt was a good Bard player, and I think beyond once it got Bard was out of his hands, he never even though I think that was still one of the more dominant bot lanes in NA, I think that Matt himself was more so holding Piglet back at that point. I know I don't want to give a lot. I want to honestly say that I feel like I'm giving too much slack to Piglet though, because Piglet, although I do think his team was more some of the members were holding him back, I do think that he has been He's been a pretty hardcore, it gets in my head too easily, and then I start playing poorly. He had a lot of issues with his teammates. He made a lot of controversial statements against them. Mm-hmm. He did not, him and Dardoch, especially.
Yeah.
I think that if we're going to
that if he starts having issues with these players, I think you might see it in gameplay at a certain point in time. I think that, this is something I was watching, Euphoria and Dive podcasts, as he probably should. But I don't think he watched Euphoria. What a wanker. But okay, so let's talk about what their competitiveness could be in terms of draft. Okay, so what do you draft to your strong suits in this team?
Your strong suits in
your world would you draft for this team in general?
Okay,
beside the stronger lanes, which is in top and mid.
Okay, let's look at this. They have in my opinion, three carry players on this team, which are Piglet, Huni, and Lyra. I think that Demonte, I still really don't have a grasp on what type of player he is. He did show that he's a pretty competent mid laner in terms of what he's capable of, but I still think he was a lower of the pack team. He's not a superstar like Caps. When Caps came into the scene, it wasn't
I mean, you could kind of tell he was going to be good.
You could tell that Caps was going to be good. I don't see this with Demonte, but I still think he's going to be a competent mid laner. I think he's going to be more of what Prime Pobelter was in a stable. He's not going to feed, but he's not going to go off. I think that if with this team you play around your strengths, which are the side lanes and the jungle.
That means on this team, if you're drafting against them, that means you pretty much Huni is gonna mostly have to be on carry champions.
I think that
whatever carry champions that are in.
The thing about it is, I actually think that he can go on tanks because they have two. I don't think
that's trusting Demonte and Piglet to carry.
That's more so trusting Lyra and Piglet to carry. I think that Demonte is always going to be in a situation that's going to be relegated to the thing about it is it depends on because these utility mid laners aren't always in the meta, so we're gonna have to see what he's capable of.
If we're going off of last meta, which hasn't really
it was
changed,
Lissandra.
Technically, you factor in if you're going for bot lane. Okay, let's say if there's Kai'Sa there, is Piglet the best? Do you give Piglet Kai'Sa or do you give it to the other team?
I think that
when you're picking Kai'Sa, you immediately know that every resource probably from mid to jungle is going to go to Piglet.
I think that Piglet...
Are they good enough to pull off the Kai'Sa in that certain.
If you're
aspect.
talking about mechanically, I think that Piglet is good enough to pull off the Kaisa.
Yeah.
I think that if
This
you're
is just us talking about drafting strengths for them.
I think that you have a lot of people to draft around it. It kind of like I think this is a versatile team, which is like it's
think sometimes like you could give him a Huni like a
my
Jace
biggest
top is
my
pretty
biggest
good.
problem. Yeah, my biggest problem is I don't know what's gonna happen with it. This team could be this team. Honestly, it's so overwhelmingly like polarizing. I think they're either gonna be first or last. Not last. I don't think they're able to be last, but they're gonna be either first.
This is an almost playoff-ish team. They barely hit 6th place and might be a 5th place team.
I disagree with that completely. I don't think if they're on point, they're in the top 3. If they're off point, they're in the bottom 3.
I don't know.
They
Factor in that means you literally just have to be worse than Optic at that point.
Well, the thing about it is, I think this team, like just based off the players, is a top 3 team.
Mm-hmm.
If we base it off of what they're capable of, if we base it off of their recent performances, this is not a top 3 team.
I think if you even in terms of like draft, I feel like them not getting aggressive picks really limits them in what they're actually going to intentionally pull
I do
off.
agree with that completely.
What if like the meta's even from the patches we're going to be reading doesn't look like much is changing. Urgot's still going to be there. We're still going to have like mid laners.
We have a lot of time.
We're still going to have mid laners like who's the mid laner? Forgot.
Lissandra, LeBlanc,
Aurelia is turbo broken.
Aurelia is gonna get nerfed. I can't imagine
Aurelia won't be in the meta at the current point in time.
I'm gonna put this out there. If Riot manages not to
like
nerf
Lyra, I don't think he can pull off Graves jungle that well.
Lyra's fine on Graves jungle.
I don't think that'd be one of his. No, like I see as a problem. Lyra thrives on aggressive jungler, so Lee Sin might be in the meta. He's usually always in the meta when spring comes in anyway.
I'm excited. Like I think this team could possibly if this team is on point, they're a world.
But that's the problem. The problem with this team is that they're gonna have some band-aid issues that they're gonna have to cover up.
I don't see,
either they're gonna have to cover the fact that they can't be versatile, which I think the problem is that they're not gonna be able to be versatile.
What
I think this is a one style way team where it's gonna go one way and that's it.
I think aggressive teams have definitely thrived in the metas.
But aggressive teams have been known as teams that really don't like.
Well, KT played fine. The Samsung White and Samsung Blue. Those Samsung
aggressive.
White was yes.
But you also have to be smart with your aggression.
Samsung White was aggressive.
Huni proves that he overextends. He just only solely he dies a lot.
He doesn't die a lot constantly. He dies a lot in the second split. I think that if we're talking about these, let's just imagine a world. Let's imagine a world where all of these players are playing to their strengths and they're on point. Let's just imagine that.
And let's imagine you're playing against a good team in a best of 5 that knows how to draft against your strengths.
Well, I mean, how can you draft against all of their strengths, to be honest? Like, what are you going to draft in top lane to counteract a good top laner?
You'd force them onto a tank?
You can't force them on. You can't ban out every single one of the carries.
That's I know, impossible. But, if that's an option.
The thing about it is, you can't ban out all the carries. They can first pick one, and now you have to have a better top laner who can counteract. The thing about it is, good, competent bruisers will not lose to tank players, for the most part, unless it's like Fiora Poppy. But for the most part, it's really hard to find a top laner tank who's going to counteract a top lane bruiser who's actually good. So I don't think in NA there's 2 teams who I think could honestly compete with Huni on point, which is Someday and
Licorice was fine.
Licorice should do fine, but I think honestly,
not if he's playing Lucian.
Like no, if Huni is on point, it might only be honestly Someday. To be honest, mechanically, I don't think anybody can compete with him besides Someday in his prime.
But like in terms of Lyra is not good technically as good on tank junglers. So what is he going to have to?
The thing about it is Lyra played fine on tank junglers in Korea. I think that he's capable of playing tanks. I think that they didn't put him on it because he was one of the carries of that team. Like you can't put one of your better players onto a tank.
I think like if you're strictly going to draft against this team, you gotta just put them on stuff they're not comfortable with.
I feel like the thing about it is
into a situation where they have to pick something where someone isn't gonna be the carry.
They can try that. I just feel like this team has a large enough champion pool in the aggressive style to not be banned out.
But the problem with that comes back to the band-aid situation.
What?
They're covering the fact that they can't play anything else, that they're not versatile.
Well, the thing about it is you don't have to be versatile if no one can stop you in your aggressiveness.
That's the problem. Eventually, that does get picked up on.
By who? It doesn't matter.
More competent teams.
The thing about it is you can see this happening, but if you don't have the ability to stop them, like IG was only aggressive, and if they lost the laning phase, they lost. No one could stop them because no one was mechanically good enough. No matter what you put these teams on,
Like
they
their
couldn't stop
band-aid
them.
would be that they can't play past 20 minutes if they lose.
The thing, IG's biggest weakness was the fact that they, beyond laning phase, where they could not, they were dominant in every region.
You just beat this team by...
Yeah, but let's think about this. Like, I would honestly put
assume
them...
they're not versatile. I can't go to this team and be like, this team can play every single style.
IG, I'm going to put this out there again. IG was not versatile. If we're going to put that out, IG was 100%. They had a bunch of players who were extremely good at laning. Jackie Love was extremely good at laning in China. Mm-hmm. Well, Rookie was good everywhere, and so was the Shy.
Well, the draft phase was pretty predictable too. Like you could kind of tell where the resources were going. Like if they
but you couldn't stop it. You couldn't stop it.
I mean, you couldn't stop it unless the other team executed it wrong, because they did counterpick it. The problem is that if the other team doesn't execute it properly.
The thing about it's not executing properly. More so is you have to be good enough to counteract it. Mm-hmm. No one was good enough against IG to counteract it. So I think if we see. That's why I'm pretty decently excited for Clutch, because if they're on point, I don't think there's a team who can just say, hey, we're gonna play defensive and stop them, because I think that they're gonna be good enough on their players to be able to just wipe the floor with them.
My thing is that once you play against a competent team that knows just how to just
tell me a team in NA.
See, the problem is aggressive teams can only be as good as the team that doesn't let them stomp you in the at least 20-25 minutes.
Yeah, you just tell me.
What if every other lane doesn't feed and they just play stable, and then now their comp outscales you, and then now they lose because they didn't beat you in 20 minutes? What if what if the meta's like Rumble, Lee Sin, Syndra, and you give Piglet like Kai'Sa and Vulcan's on like Rakan?
Kai'Sa and Rakan could easily dominate a lane.
But Kai'Sa is weak early on, so
Kai'Sa is weak early on.
So they could exploit Piglet
early on. But with the aggressive jungler that they have, I think that they're going to be fine in that aspect. I think that in terms of what the realistically, all of these players struggled recently.
Yeah.
If we're talking about what's most likely going to happen, I think they're going to be lower the peg or to mid-tier team.
And from what we saw last year of Huni, tanks aren't really going to be part of that.
He played tanks well on SKT, remember this.
Yeah, but he did not play... I don't think he didn't play much tanks this year.
Yeah, I just think he's capable, so I don't want to...
I mean, if you're drafting toward a player's strength, you're going to give him a carry top laner.
Yeah,
but...
I just think that in terms of what Huni's capable, Huni is a versatile player who prefers carries because he's just good.
So...
I think that
so in like draft phase, who would you give the priority to in draft phase first?
I think in complete honesty, you're gonna have to pick towards the jungle and the ADC.
I would pick towards mid and jungle first.
The thing about it is, if you pick mid, I think he's weak enough to where if he doesn't get the counter pick, he's gonna lose.
You would last pick mid for Demonte?
I would pick no, not last pick. In my opinion, wouldn't like you can't always go last pick on anything. You always have to change it up depending on the team you're playing. Mm. But I think that...
They might last pick Vulcan.
No, I don't think Vulcan's ever going to get last picked. You don't last pick support.
Sometimes people do.
I don't
unless he's got some weird pocket picks he doesn't have shown us
What I'm saying, yeah. Unless it's a pocket pick, he's not going to get last pick.
I think priority, you want to make sure Huni has what he wants first.
I think in complete honesty, you might want to get him a counter pick. If he has a counter pick, I think he beats most everybody out.
I think Lyra should be on aggressive junglers as his strength. Demonte should be on mages that can carry like Syndra.
I would
Piglet
like this...
probably shouldn't be on stuff that outside of laning phase he's not really going to thrive in. Like, I don't think Kai'Sa would be a good strength for him. I think Lucian, if that's going to be in the meta, which it looks like it's going to be, I think that should... Lucian, Caitlyn should be his strength.
He is an aggressive laner, and I think on top of the fact that I think
Xayah Rakan would be good for them. They did play Xayah Rakan for a game. Yeah, and they played Ezreal. So.
Yeah, he's an aggressive jungler on top of the fact that I think he's good past laning phase too. I think all around...
He played Ezreal pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I think all around, though this team has weaknesses, if they play to their strengths and they are on the level at which I hope they are, that I think that they should be, then I think that they're going to be a top team.
So I think we covered what? Draft, synergy. Did Clutch fill in the gaps from last split?
I mean, they have a weaker mid lane. Bot lane, in my opinion, is completely stronger, depending on if. Like, yeah, I like Aparo and Hako, but they're not...
Jungle didn't change?
The thing about it is...
Top lane that changed.
Top lane, Jungle didn't change, but I feel like, honestly, with the removal of the person he was arguing with it, he might be playing better.
And then you have Choplin who got slam dunk for Clutch. They're really good at that.
So I think all around, I think they're obviously a better team, besides if they had kept, like... God, if they had kept somebody else mid lane, I would have liked it. But we'll see what Demonte turns into, because he is still pretty decently new to the scene, so I won't argue too much.
How was Vulcan in terms of feeding information or roaming around the map too, because
I
that might be a
didn't.
big factor.
The thing about it is,
if
I can't
Demonte
know.
and Vulcan have a good duo, that might be a better thing for them too.
I've not heard enough. Usually it's the jungle support, but I have not heard enough in terms of voice comms because I don't really. The Academy League wasn't really into releasing voice comms, to be honest.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like because you play at your house.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is I don't know. I don't know what this team is going to look like because we haven't seen any. Most of these players have not played together.
Like playmaking supports, like would you trust Vulcan to be on someone like Alistar that's supposed to be playmaking?
If you want my honest opinion, what
because we're playing to their strengths.
Yeah. If you want my honest opinion, what he looked like in the Academy League, I'd trust him with most anything. What he looked like when he came into the LCS, no. But I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be he's an up and coming NA talent, paired with a legend like one of the more mechanically gifted ADCs.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're gonna thrive in this meta. I think they're gonna do well in NA.
I think that they won't thrive in best of fives when a team has seen your style for like 4 games and are like, okay, we're just gonna take away their strongest picks first round rotation and give them the leftovers.
I would be that confident if I thought any of the coaches besides Cloud9's was competent enough to even pull that off.
Because you factor in, if let's say they get to a playoff, okay, so let's say they get to the first round of the playoffs, and a best of 5, you factor in, okay, draft matters way more than a best of 1. That style, that wins you like game 1.
That doesn't
maybe
win you
game 2.
Well, I'm gonna go back to IG right now. Unless they are capable of beating these players in the solo lanes with counter matchups, I don't believe they win. I don't think they win. I don't think any of these teams.
Oh, we didn't talk about that. I forgot.
What?
Oh, would they be stronger on red or blue side?
I mean,
I think this team's stronger on red side.
Why would you say that?
I think they would function better on red side actually, just in terms of like priority in their draft.
So you want them to have last pick and not first pick?
I think they should have last pick for their counter matchup for the best player.
Okay, that's fair.
I think that red side, from what Echo Fox was shown when they had Huni, they thrived better on red. I think they had like an 80% win rate with red side with Huni.
I honestly think that they would thrive better on blue side. To be honest, if they force. Like, essentially, I think some of these laners, I think if you grab an ADC first, you can't really force Piglet out of a carry place.
Oh, man, but that depends on the ADC you give him. Because you factor in, if you're giving him, like, Xayah, Kai'Sa, or, like, Lucian, Lucian, if you pick for Lucian for Piglet, you know Lyra's going to be in the bot lane to gank to get him ahead.
No, you can, I think if you have Lucian, I think he's gonna do well enough on his own.
But you're going to want to further that advantage. So
if you're mindlessly
resources at then?
The thing about it is, if you're mindlessly ganking for the same lane just because he has an aggressive jungler, that is going to be red. Everybody's going to know. So I can't imagine every time he plays Lucian they're going to gank bot.
Or they give him Kai'Sa. Okay, so he's not on something super aggressive, but now he's on something that needs to scale up.
Yeah, it scales.
So what would you give Lyra as his aggressive jungler at that point?
You give Lyra, honestly...
Graves jungle?
I don't know what's going to be in the meta. So I don't even know. Kai'Sa's probably not going to be in the meta at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not going to put anything out there because I don't know what the whole situation
is. But we're just talking about drafting toward their
If we're talking about this, I would say if you're going to put him on a scaling up champion, you're going to probably have to put him on a... Let's think. You're going to have to put him on a tank jungler.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to put Huni on... Like, the thing about it is, Kai'Sa does not... She functioned well inside of a 4-1.
This team does sound like a 4-1 comp.
It's a 1-3-1 is usually the kind of concept, but I don't trust Demonte on a 1-3-1.
I guess you could a 1-4 type team who needs split pushing TPs, flanks, fights type thing.
So essentially, you're saying the team you have Piglet catch the side wave on top and have Huni split push bot.
Kinda, yeah.
I can see that works. So you put him on an aggressive top.
I think that if you're gonna give Piglet something that's gonna be harder in lane, you're gonna have Lyra focus his resources in mid or top. I don't think Lyra would focus all of his resources in top because I think he would probably think that he doesn't need to do that for top. He would just pretty much put his resources in mid.
He's going to gank somewhere. That's just what a jungler does. So I honestly could not tell you unless I saw... Like, you don't know where the openings are going to be because you can't see the game itself.
Yeah.
You can say, I'm going to gank top, but if they're not shoving in or they don't give you a ganking position...
There could be tanks in the meta where they don't even do anything.
What I'm saying is you can't know anything until you see the game itself pop up. So I'm going to say that I think that with the team they have, I don't think that they're going to... Like, I'd like to say they'd function well, but...
I think in a best of 5, they're going to get exposed and just be completely demolished.
I'd like to see an NA team be capable of that, but yes.
I think in a best of 5, they're going to get completely demolished. They're going to probably win game 1 because game 1s are usually the most aggressive, and that's when you win them.
I'm going to be honest.
They might win game 2.
If they win game 1, they're probably going to sweep. I think that this team
against pretty much an easier team, that's probably going to happen.
No, I think they could do like again. This team with that like kind of good morale is a scary team to look at. Like I think they could be. They're the dark horse in my opinion of NA. They're either going to be in the top 3 again or the bottom 3.
There's no it.
Yeah.
We
there's
covered a lot.
Yeah.
Draft, possible pathing, possible blue side, red side. What do we call it? Purple side? It's been called red side for years. Player strengths, player weaknesses. Like I said, I don't think they're gonna be versatile. It just doesn't.
They don't have to be versatile if you're good enough.
That's the problem. Eventually, that's gonna get exposed. It always does.
Okay, well, yeah, IG did, huh?
Yeah, that one scenario in which it doesn't happen.
It's the thing about it is, if you're good enough, they can't expose you because they can't counteract it. If you have good enough laners, they can't do it.
Like I'm saying, their band-aid situation is that they're not going to be flexible. That's what I think.
You think that, but
What do they cover up their band-aid with? Nothing, because they've shown all their cards.
I mean, honestly, I'm going to put this out there. If they play well enough, you can't counteract it. Like that's kind of the point of. That's the kind of the functionality of what IG did.
A better team does.
When a team is better than you, no matter what you do, if you counteract them, unless you kind of just completely out macro them, which I think is going to be possible with this team. That's another thing I think was a problem with this team.
They don't have macro play.
They don't have a shot caller. I went over this earlier, but they don't have a real shot. It's gonna be Huni. I'm pretty confident that Huni is gonna be the shot caller of this team, and
good luck there.
I don't believe in that. I think they should have probably drafted somebody.
I think he's going to get priority in the draft for having a counter pick. I think the other players are going to have what they're going to... I think the other players aren't going to have as big champion pools, but they'll probably just play what's in the meta.
Yeah.
These guys aren't going to have pocket picks, random things they're throwing like Shaco or Jungle. Lear doesn't probably do that, but...
Yeah, I'm terrified of what's going to happen in terms of their macro play, but I think they're going to probably dominate the early season with their just better laning.
Yeah.
And then they're going to fall apart towards the end because they have no macro, which is what happens.
We're going to have to go back and watch this video eventually, but I think they're going to fall apart in the playoffs to a team that knows how to just draft and play against the style in general. Might. I said might.
I want you to put a team out there that could possibly do that.
I think TSM in best of fives is fine.
TSM, I would like to see. I don't know enough about Broken Blade, I'll be honest. I did not watch enough of his...
TSM Cloud 100 Thieves. I don't know about 100 Thieves drafting. Maybe not.
100 Thieves has the players to counteract them, so I could see that happening. I don't
know.
know.
On tanks.
I think that Prawley's biggest problem wasn't drafting beyond like his inability to prioritize Sunday.
Oh, that's what we should do as a video when the new draft phase comes up. Is actually go over competitive drafting too.
I think that anybody who's watching this has probably got a grasp of what the drafting is, to be honest.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that in playoffs. I think they'll get exposed in playoffs.
I'd like to see that. If they're not on point, it's 100% going to happen.
And then,
so I agree with that.
Like I said before, their band-aid situation is they're probably not going to be versatile. Once you show all your cards, I mean, it's just up to the other team to deal them better
to be able to play it.
That's it.
Able to counteract it.
So Clutch, they filled in their gaps from last split. They did get better players at certain points, except pretty much for mid.
Mid is the only downgrade.
Yeah, and then you have Synergy, that's literally 50-50, and then you have everything else, which is pretty much fine. So, pretty much we're signing out. I have to go home, guys, because I have a life, unlike this guy.
It is 8:30 at night. You ain't going nowhere.
You gonna keep me here in your room?
I ain't keeping you here. I'm just saying you're not doing anything.
He's gonna chain me up. I have to go to the gym.
Oh, really? All right. So have it. Like,
have a good day.
Have a good night.
We'll probably do this for another. We might do this for TSM. Actually, it was kind of good running down these types of teams. But I kind of want to see if Dark is going to be confirmed with TSM before we do a rundown of the team.
This is honestly just us thinking. There's no rumors for this. I want to put that out there.
Yeah.
This is just us thinking that. So have a good night and signing out. Don't do that again. I don't know what we're supposed to say at the end. So goodbye.
Peace out.